Hey, you made it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Richard GoldRock here. Here's a budget, a simple budget, free from Google. I'll divide this video up into 7 segments. 1. Getting access to this budget. 2. Setup. 3. Inputs. 4. Processes and basic formula. 5. Outputs, charts and reporting. 6. Prose. And finally, item number 7, cons, the limitations. Let's begin. 1. Getting access. All you need is a smart device, a Gmail account, and the internet. I assume you have at least 2 of these already. I'm only guessing by the mere fact that you're watching this video. I can't help you with the smart device nor the internet, but I hear Starlink is coming to you soon. Anyhow, check out this video on how to create a Google account. Congratulations, you now have access to all the basic Google Workspace functions, formerly G Suite. They are paid for business plans, but don't worry about those. You don't need those fancy add-ons for personal use. Note, you may have to download the apps onto your device if you want to work with them offline. I strongly recommend you go check out some of the Google apps and features, especially if you're treating yourself like a business. So, go ahead, equip yourself with technology for the purpose of enhancing your financial and personal well-being. Right, let's get into the thick of it. 2. Budget setup. Not much to do on this one. Google has created a template for you. In the app section, click on Sheets. Then, choose a budget template which they've provided you with. When you select one, save it down as a version in your Google Drive. This way, you don't destroy the original template and gives you a chance to save a historical recording for each month or year. 3. Inputs. You have a monthly budget template or an annual budget template. Both cover the same principles. The annual one just expands in a bit more detail and laterally month by month. Let's have a look at the monthly budget. Within the template, they have prepared 2 tabs, a summary tab and a transaction tab. The summary tab is a representation of where you stand against your planned budget. In other words, are you spending more than you plan to? You'll need to input your budgeted income and expenditure figures into the planned columns D and J. So for example, food, $200 for the month. Gifts, yes please. Home, $1,500, etc., etc. Feel free to edit the description categories to suit your needs. You can add as many expense or income categories as you want by copying a line and adding it to the bottom of the list, and then edit appropriately. Be sure not to tamper with the formulas too much. You may break something. Now, move on to the transaction tab. Here you will enter each and every transaction that occurred during the month. These will be the actual entries on your bank statements, credit card statements, and physical cash payments. Enter the date of the transaction into the date column, followed by the respective amount, description, and category into the adjacent columns. The most important input columns on this tab being the amount and category columns. The amount column format can be changed to any currency you wish if needed. Check out this video to find out how you can change the number and currency format of cells. You'll note the category column has drop-down arrows which tie back to the category you set up on the summary tab. Ensure these are validly tied back to the summary tab, as if not, the SUMIF formula won't pick up the transaction item. Now populate your actuals for both your income and expenses. Once done, click back on the summary tab and enter a cash starting balance in cell L8. 4. Processes and basic formula. Basically, what's happening here is the data from the Transactions tab is feeding through to the Summary tab by use of these SUMIF formulas. You don't really need to understand these formulas, but to quickly explain, the SUMIF function is basically saying, sum the amount column in the Transaction tab where the category column equals this line item. For example, click on the Transactions tab and enter a transaction item, an expense item. Date, amount, make it a recognizable amount, 99999, and you went to the planet Zerg. and you traveled there. So this is a travel expense. So just short of £100,000. And if you click on the summary tab, there it is, £100,000 in the travel category, which in my opinion is absolutely dirt cheap considering you went to the planet Zerg. The isBlank function contained within this formula is somewhat redundant in my opinion, as if you were to delete a category here, you would probably just delete the entire row, so forget about it for now. Then, let's move on to these total figures, which is merely a sum function, which says sum every figure in this range. 5. Outputs, charts and reporting. So now that we have entered our financial data for the month, let's examine what the chart and reports are trying to tell us, i.e. converting data into useful information. The expense bar chart is a graphical representation of what we plan to spend versus what we actually spent. Same goes for the income bar charts. You can clearly see if one bar is bigger than the other, and therefore, at a blink of an eye, you can tell whether you spent or earned more or less than you planned to. The most important and final chart of this template shows you what your starting cash position was and where you ended up, thereby clearly showing you whether you grew your cash position during the month or shrank your cash position during the month. If the end balance is bigger than the start balance, you grew your cash. Congratulations. And for the opposite scenario, you ate your cash if your end balance is smaller than your start balance. Remember, try not to spend more than you bring in. 6. Prose. Working with sheets is extremely flexible. If you familiarize yourself with sheets and formulas, you can expand and extract this data very easily. Paper budgets require a lot of duplicate and redundant writing and are riddled with manual error, while budget apps, although robust, can be expensive, too rigid, and are limited to the functions they offer. So there you are, a simple budget. I don't dig it. Don't get me wrong, I love Google and Google products. The budget I've just presented you is great for its intended purpose, but it isn't congruent with the wealth maximizing ethos. Let's discuss item number 7. 7. Cons, the limitations with this budget. There are so many missing parts to the framework I've just presented to you. You can't see what you're worth. You can't see your capital appreciation. It doesn't show you what your capital appreciating assets are, which ones are really working well for you, and therefore what to do less of or more of. And it doesn't show you where your future is headed in say 2, 3, 10, and 50 years from now. So what's the problem with this? Well, for one, it doesn't help you treat yourself like a business. It's limited to keeping track of your expenditure against your income, which, although is a great place to start, it doesn't equip you with the insight necessary to take advantage of the opportunities and enhancements the world is begging you to take. And 2, it's a bit one-sided. You see, businesses have accounting systems, and accounting systems work off double entry principles. Debits, credits. What happens to one side, you do the equal and opposite to the other side. In other words, you have a balance sheet, which balances. A balance sheet summarizing your assets and illustrating your worth. And 3, it's too short-term focused. This limits your perspective to a day-to-day, month-to-month outlook. We should be looking at our financial lifetime and all the stages contained within: career start, career progress, family intervention, retirement, old age, and finally, hopefully, inheritance for your loved ones, i.e., the added value platform you wish to offer your children or anyone else when they start their lives without you. Let me take you on the quickest accounting course, real quick. Here's a balance sheet. It balances. Allow me to take you through this and a next level up budget I'm preparing for you in the next video. Stay tuned. If you consider the content of this video to be of use and value to you, tap the like button and share it with anyone you think could benefit from this. And subscribe for upcoming messages to my younger, foolish me. Thank you, everyone. you have a monthly budget template or an annual